Welcome back to another episode of Naruto Theory. Today I thought we'd do something a little different and discuss when all the different Jump Festa episodes take place. As far as this DVD goes, there is only 2 episodes, OVA-wise. To my understanding there's at least 4 or 5 for part 1, but that may differ depending on if you include OVAs that take place in part 1 but were animated well into Shippuden. I think there was even a couple that were connected to a couple of different games. But if that is the case, at the moment I actually do not have access to that. But for now, I would like to keep it all Jump Festa related, and if I do end up covering the OVAs, I will likely skip all that are either inaccessible or are not in the traditionally animated style of the anime, which for now includes the game takes. So regarding the first Jump Festa episode, this story involves a little hunt for a red clover, with Konohamaru urging Naruto to help him find it, ultimately to give it to a girl who's leaving the academy. I thought the fact that you could actually leave the academy was pretty interesting. Like, as far as the law goes, what actually happens if you leave the academy? Do you go to a different academy? Do you leave the village? Can you only leave the academy if you're leaving the village? But more on topic. When does this take place in the timeline if it were canon? Well, as far as I'm aware, there is no set episode count on where this is supposed to take place in between. Technically speaking, it is advised to watch this after episode 5. I'm not entirely sure if this is an officially listed recommendation, or if it is just by a fan, because I guess anybody here that has seen the OVA already, I don't know about you guys, but the first impression I was given, based on the art style and the way they covered the anime back in the day, I thought very much that it did fit in with the episodes in between Land of Waves and the Chunin exams. I don't know if that's canonically where they based the timeline for that episode. I mentioned this in the Land of Spirit video I made a couple of years ago, but one of my biggest critiques with Part 1 Naruto is that we didn't get enough screen time of Sasuke and Naruto developing their friendship until the eventual betrayal that Sasuke commits. So in my opinion, not only is the narrative and art style fit to go in between the Chunin exams and the Land of Waves, but in a mild or even small way it does offer more screen time to Sasuke and Naruto's friendship, even if the focus really is on Konohamaru this episode. Because even if all the interactions in this episode are very minimal, for Squad 7 specifically, I could buy more that after Land of Waves, Naruto and Sasuke are a little shaken after the events that have happened, and because of which, instead of Naruto complaining about Sasuke being the cool boy, even though Sasuke was out cold in the Lost Ark,
"What's up?" They've been like this ever since we got back from the Land of Waves.
I want a chance to prove myself! Sasuke! What's the matter? Can't take care of yourself, Sasuke?
and Naruto was the one that defeated the villain that defeated Sasuke, putting him to the brink of death.
He's always rescuing everyone on our missions. Sasuke! Sasuke! Sasuke!
Will you shut up?
Instead, if we were to go to this Jump Festa, I'd actually argue that this is even more realistic, with Sasuke and Naruto really not communicating at all, Naruto doing his own thing, and Sasuke ignoring it. It could even be said that it's because of Sasuke's ignorant behavior to what causes Naruto to, if you were to watch the Chunin exams after this, make Naruto get triggered about Sasuke being all quiet and cool. Without a doubt, more time needed to pass in between the 2 arcs, and it's no secret that Kishimoto wanted to have more arcs in between this.
Kishimoto planned to make very different arcs after the Land of Waves arc, and actually his editor was the one who came up with the idea of a tournament arc with the Chunin exams.
Which again, in my opinion, is all the more reason for this OVA to go in between it, because even though it's not an arc, any and all screen time regarding Naruto and Sasuke, even if they don't interact with each other in the episode, as long as it doesn't break the canon as far as what they're wearing and what abilities they have, then I would place it there in the timeline.
Coming back to these Chunin exam characters, he didn't intend to do this arc in the first place. What he wanted to do was have Naruto go on missions outside Konoha and meet other 4-man cells from other villages in the process.
Kishimoto's original plan after the Land of Waves arc was for him to do more arcs when Team 7 went through missions. They were going to encounter shinobi from other ninja villages and have fights, major arcs, and also rivalries with them. However, Kishimoto's editor at the time decided that it was best for Kishimoto to keep the pacing very fast fast and include a tournament arc after the Land of Waves arc.
Something small I think noteworthy enough to point out, similarly to the wardrobe changes I brought up from movie 2 and 3's designs, is all to do with Konohamaru. You see, in episode 2, we establish who Konohamaru is, wardrobe and all, and post Land of Waves, we establish two things relative to Konohamaru, the first being the Konohamaru Ninja Squad, introducing us to Moegi and Udon. The other, more importantly for this video's context, is that they are all wearing the goggles that Naruto was wearing in the first two episodes. Ultimately to visually emphasize that Konohamaru was trying to keep up behind Naruto despite still being in the academy. Why this is all relative to this OVA is simply because the headgear that Konohamaru wears, that also appears briefly in the startup of episode 3, is still being worn in this OVA, but curiously with the goggles on top, despite the headgear later being removed in place of the goggles during the Chunin exam starting episodes, and there is a full-on acknowledgement to this change too.
Hey, what are those things? Those goggles you're wearing on your head.
You used to wear goggles, remember? So we're copying you! Hey, come on, boss! Why are you being like that? You ought to be more excited!
So, did you want something?
So I have to say, both the advised post-episode 5 and post-Land of Waves recommendations can arguably fall short if you were to go directly from the unacknowledged goggles in the OVA straight into either Land of Waves or Chunin exams. That said, I don't think post-exams or even mid-exams would be recommended, given the fact that mid-exams, Sasuke and Kakashi have ditched everyone. There's also a Sakura inconsistency that I'll bring up shortly, and episode count-wise, it makes it incredibly awkward and would require an edit or a fan cut to inject the OVA so this happens before or during Naruto's entanglements with Jiraiya in the training. Its only real saving grace maybe being the fact that there is a very filler-oriented section where Naruto is racing to the exam stadium and Konohamaru slows him down for a bit.
What have you done, Konohamaru? And why did we come out of a tree? And now we're even further away than we were before!
Naruto!
Huh?
Good luck in your fight!
Bull? Leave it!
Oh, and in case there is a curiosity to how he appears going forward, in the race to the exam, he is wearing the goggles. In the attack on the leaf during its evacuation, he's also still wearing goggles. During the funeral, he's still wearing goggles. Post-funeral, in the What's Up With You?
What's up, Konohamaru?
Not much, Naruto. What about you? You're still training, right?
Sort of. What's up with you?
Nothing. What's up with you?
Nothing. What's the matter?
Nothing's the matter. What's wrong with you?
You're knocking off and get out here!
Is still goggles only. Post-Tsunade retrieval, where he gets cut about Izumo and Kotetsu moving the third's possessions, still only goggles. The filler immediately afterward, still goggles only. And pretty much any filler beyond this, it's all the same.
What?
So it's you guys, huh?
So to me, it really does feel like the goggles on top of the headgear was intended to serve as a type of partial transformation or transition more than anything. Another slight wardrobe change might be Sakura's, something even the games forget, usually because the hair change is the more noteworthy focus. Though suspiciously, I can't say the same about the fillers.
See what Kakashi Sensei's face really looks like!
Just forget about that. It's impossible. Every single time we try this, it never goes well. Actually, I never told you this, but I already checked them out once before. And he has a mask on in every one.
Hey, you! Hey, you!
Every single time we try this, it never goes well.
Why are you such an idiot?
See, when Sakura is first introduced, she has a short-sleeved dress with long hair, and replaces the Amy Rose headband for the leaf band, something that we see consistently before and during Land of Waves, and it's probably for this very reason to why post-episode 5 is the suggested placement, since she also does appear this way in the Red Clover OVA. However, immediately after Land of Waves, before confirmation on the exams are even announced, or that they would be wandering the wilderness in the Forest of Death, Sakura's wardrobe dawns a slight change by removing the short sleeves, and pretty much is used all the way throughout the first half of the exams, past the haircutting scene, past the prelims, even curiously into the month-long wait, in building up to the final competition, both when wanting to gift Sasuke and Lee a flower, and when she returns later to also pay Naruto a visit. But when we see her in the stadium during the final competition, we for the first time see the combo of her short hair and the sleeves together. which will take us all the way to the end of part 1. I'd be super curious to hear other people's thoughts on where the best and ideal spot could be placed in a more canonical setting, despite its lack of acknowledgement to his appearance. If you are to ignore the goggles in the OVA and go straight into the tuning exams, for the most part it does seem to work the best. Especially since it also doesn't acknowledge Sakura's wardrobe change, that I personally think the short sleeves should have been seen post Land of Waves instead of immediately afterward changing wardrobe. But like I have always said, in my opinion there really is no right or wrong answers here, so I really think we ought to be able to decide when and where we should want to watch any of the detours from the canon, be they filler, movies, OVAs, so on and so forth. So that is for the first OVA. So regarding the second Jump Festa episode, this story is not quite a movie, nor an episode, but somewhere between the two lengths, curiously. The story isn't really acknowledged by the anime, and unlike some of the movies that at least have obvious windows where they could hypothetically fit, this OVA feels like it's somewhat being pulled from both sides, continuity-wise. And, after rewatching it more times than I'd like to admit, I actually think there's a surprisingly convincing answer. Not a perfect answer, but great enough to convince me at least. Still, this is timeline placement we're talking about, so make of that what you will. The intro for this I found oddly nostalgic revisiting, for as someone that was briefly introduced to it as it was airing on Toasted TV, or more accurately, saw the Rise of a Ninja trailers more than I should have. Even though it was the instrumental version this time, it still brought me back. And I still can't believe the Cartoon Network cut is its only official usage to the vocal version in place of the OP, though where my experience differs from others, airing-wise, is that where others had the instrumental for the credits, I instead had this Never Heard Again track. I'd be curious to hear your experiences and first introductions with the anime, or maybe like me you got into the games first. Anyway, back to The Lost Story, which I'll never get when the first undubbed OVA, or fourth unreleased OVA in DVD Blu-ray form, is more of a lost story in my book. But yes, back to the tale. On with the tour. Let's quickly run through what actually happens in this tale. Team 7 escort a young leader named Shibuki back to the Waterfall Village. As for where he was coming from and why,
unclear.
In my own little headcanon, I like to imagine that Shibuki attended the final competition since there were established Waterfall Shinobi, at least before the written test.
Our two villages are allies.
Yes?
And as support, he attended the final phase of the exams and was there during the attack on the Leaf Village.
There are no shinobi in our village who are as strong as your Hokage.
This might explain his anxiety and nervousness, if he was knocked out by Kabuto's sleeping genjutsu before the attack commenced, and is only now being escorted home by 3 genin and a single jonin. But despite the escort, unfortunately for literally everyone involved, a group of rogue Rin shinobi have decided they'd quite like the village's secret weapon. The hero's water.
The hero's water!
So they attack the village, injure innocent citizens, including a parent, to lure him out, and even later torture children to force Shibuki into surrendering.
You're about to die. You are going to die.
No! Stop it! Stop it! You're gonna kill him!
Yeah, this OVA gets surprisingly dark. From casual orders to attack civilians, to a henchman whipping terrified children while Shibuki can do nothing but watch. Heck, Naruto cops a kunai to the back, giving us a bit more kunai brutality that was originally intended for the Kabuto battle. And Sasuke straight up kills 3 of the attackers with a windmill of shadows.
Demon Wind Shuriken.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
And this is the guy who warned me not to kill anyone.
Compared to OVA 1, which mostly feels like Naruto and Konohamaru messing around and accidentally triggering the minefield and its killer dummies that forced Team 7 to get involved, all for the sake of a rare clover to wish the crush to stay. Compared to that, this is a massive tonal shift. That alone already makes me think some time has passed between the two OVAs. I'm not sure when this was dubbed, but I was always under the impression that this debuted Debbie Mae West 2 Naruto before she replaced Mary Elizabeth McGlenn as Tsunade.
Lord Shibuki, it was awful. They attacked without warning.
since the latter made it as far as voicing her in a childhood flashback.
Well, Jiraiya.
But if where timeline-wise it were to be placed, it might have been after Tsunade. I think I had placed it earlier previously because the Rasengan is absent from the OVA in its entirety. But what makes the story interesting beyond just its action is Shibuki himself. Because unlike most one-off OVA characters who disappear into the void forever, Shibuki actually comes back. He later reappears during Shippuden filler, mentoring the young Fu, in a sense still keeping his attachment to the young, next generation in mind, like he does in this OVA.
For the children?
The voice actor, if I recall, does change. I believe Steve Staley portraying the voice this time.
What is it? What happened?
Who are you? You don't know anything about my father.
What were you thinking? Why'd you send an application for the tuning exams to the Hidden Leaf? What, seriously? What will you do if it's found out you're a Jinchuriki? Hold on, wait. All right. I know that you never give up once you make up your mind, but just listen to me, okay? Throughout our past, the Hidden Waterfall Village was smaller than the leaf or sand. Despite that, we were feared as a shinobi village that always produced skilled jonin. The new tuning exams is our chance to impress other shinobi leaders and feudal lords who hire hidden villages.
There are no shinobi in our village who are as strong as your Hokage.
Despite that, we were feared as a shinobi village that always produced skilled jonin, feudal lords who hire hidden villages.
Leaves, mist, clouds, sand, stones. Only the leaders of these hidden villages are permitted the name Hidden Villages.
The Hidden Waterfall Village.
The Hidden Waterfall Village.
But the pronunciation of his name shifts slightly.
Shibuki, Shibuki, Shibuki.
Shibuki! Shibuki! Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki! 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 Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki. 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 Shibuki.
Shibuki! Shibuki!
Shibuki. Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki. Shibuki. Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki. Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki! Shibuki!
Shibuki. Shibuki.
Shibuki! Shibuki!
Shibuki.
Shibuki!
Shibuki.
And his wardrobe gets a post-Part 1 pre-Shippuden fit, but it's very clearly intended to be the same village leader with the same type of backstory. Even the layout and terrain of the Waterfall Village feels remarkably consistent, irrespective of it being continuity or simply the anime staff remembering their own work. Naruto is an anime across Unleashed and Shippuden, or Hurricane Chronicles, deserves its own video, and to say it the least, is very commendable, but it does make this OVA feel a little less disposable than people often give it credit for. In fact, it almost feels like a glimpse into what Kishimoto originally seemed interested in after the Land of Waves arc. Before the tuning exams took over the story, Naruto really felt like it was geared toward a format where Team 7 would travel between smaller villages, meeting different shinobi cultures and local leaders, something even the filler brought back in the hiatus between post-Sasuke retrieval, pre-Shippuden. OVA 2 fits that style almost perfectly. Naruto spends much of the story clashing with Shibuki's lack of confidence rather than simply Rasenganing another villain. It's a different dynamic than what we usually get, and one that feels surprisingly natural for early Naruto. Which finally brings us to the question, where does this actually fit? Most websites you'll find simply say, after episode 101, but where does that actually come from? Is this an official placement? Or did a fan or group of fans make a reasonable guess 20 years ago and the rest of the internet collectively nodded in agreement? Because I've never actually found an official source saying it belongs there. Instead, the placement seems to come from looking at the consistencies and inconsistencies. And look, to be honest, this probably is the right way to approach it. I mean, heck, that is how I'm covering these. The biggest clue we have is, once again, everyone's appearance. Sakura has short hair and her short sleeve dress back. And there's also this line.
Your old man was my kind of guy!
So we're definitely post-tuning exams, which immediately kills my favorite placement, unfortunately, because if not for that haircut and the line, I would have happily shoved this directly after Land of Waves and called it a day. It would have fit that feeling of traveling between villages perfectly, but Sakura unfortunately remembered she couldn't be a reacting repeater while the rest weren't going to help.
Application forms.
Application forms.
You're repeating me, Sakura. This is all voluntary.
So that idea dies immediately. Then there's the Sasuke. He's wearing his standard blue and white fit, instead of the Lee-inspired black exam wardrobe he wore during the finals. Kinda wish we saw it all the way to the end of part 1. I would have loved to have seen it with a level 2 curse mark transformation, but even with the blue and white fit, even if he hasn't lost the arm warmer guards yet, with Sakura's hair especially next to this wardrobe, this suggests he's recovered from the hospital, post-exams. At first glance, that seems simple enough. However, this brings me to the one annoying little wrinkle with it being post-exams but pre-Itachi reunion. Sasuke actually continues wearing his black finals fit for quite a while after, even across OVA and fillers. Even during the lead up to the Itachi confrontation, which is exactly why I've never fully bought the idea that Team 7 would immediately resume regular missions, ultimately because we never see anything done outside of the games. The manga especially gives the impression that Sasuke wakes up after essentially losing the glow-up to Itachi's aura, and almost instantly begins spiraling after seeing Naruto's growth. There doesn't feel like much breathing room, but here's where the anime quietly helps. Episode 101, Gotta See, Gotta Know, Kakashi Sensei's true face, already implies life has settled down enough for Team 7 to take on a completely ridiculous side mission, and I have mentioned that movie 1 also fits that same general window for this reason too. So maybe there actually is more downtime after Sasuke leaves the hospital than the manga alone makes it feel. And if that anime canon is true, suddenly OVA 2 becomes much easier to place. And it's not like Shippuden doesn't acknowledge this too, literally flashbacking to episode 101, to I think most people's surprise. Personally, I'd order it something like this: episode 101, OVA 2, movie 1, and then episodes 102 through 106 for the Marino arc. And look, of course we can't forget, this isn't officially confirmed, but in my opinion, it is the cleanest fit. It gives Team 7 enough breathing room before everything completely falls apart, and it even creates one incredibly bonkers, but strangely satisfying pieces of continuity. Remember this scene?
Yippee!
Hmm? The only similarities you share isn't that spiky blonde hair of yours!
Not again!
Yep. That is somehow relevant, because during OVA 2, he does do it again. Meaning, if you watch beyond the search for Herb immediately beforehand, Naruto has now canonically demonstrated an incredible supernatural ability to locate every unfortunate pile of animal droppings within a 5-kilometer radius. Ergo, consistency. We apparently love to see it.
No.
Of course, there is still one major problem, well, to me anyway. Naruto uses the orange Ninetales chakra aura. Emphasis on orange over red, a glowing form before the full cloak transformation. So, when exactly is that unlocked? During the fight with Haku, despite never seeing it then? After meeting the Ninetales during the Neji fight? Something that soon comes back against Gaara? Or maybe somewhere in between Haku and Neji? The anime never really gives an implication. Land of Waves clearly shows Naruto tapping into Ninetales chakra, but this particular orange aura feels much closer to what we consistently see during the final competition through to the destruction of the leaf, and very, very briefly in Sasuke retrieval before he's caught up to Kimimaro, which I'm sure is meant to be a different mode to the cloak form. The problem is, nobody ever really acknowledges it. There's no statement saying, Naruto can now do this.
It's the chakra of the nine-tailed fox. But when did this boy learn how to harness its strength?
It's kinda just there, which makes timeline placement frustrating because it isn't evidence either way. The closest we get to an implication is through Ninetales agreeing to learn him chakra, and agreeing to help the 2 times Naruto wants the help.
The special chakra that only you have will become your greatest weapon. I am sure of it.
Personally, I lean toward this form becoming reliably accessible after Naruto's confrontation with the Ninetales before the finals. At least here, it's when we begin seeing it used more consistently. And even though not red chakra, something that I have to wonder maybe took away from the Rasengan in its source material accurate coloring. It is ultimately where it starts popping up on a more regular basis when things get difficult. Again, not proof, but the interpretation that creates the fewest headaches, shall we say. Something else I really appreciate about early OVAs is how much they develop Naruto and Sasuke's friendship. Honestly, sometimes more than the anime itself.
Yo, that's right, a whole new mission! Nothing like getting a little combat training in, right, Sasuke?
OVA 1 gives them not much to go off of, but it's playful banter as they fend off the killer dummies, and ultimately, more screen time to build up their growing bond. OVA 2 continues that trend while feeling more in character than ever, and by the end, after everything's over, they share a simple fist bump. It's such a small moment, but it immediately reminded me of the very first Naruto OP, where Naruto and Sasuke end with almost the exact same gesture. It makes me wonder if the OP cinematic was supposed to be an adventure we were intended to see, before the Tora Cat mission cues us into Land of Waves. Either way, little moments like that make their partnership feel much more believable and consistent, even to the OPs now, before of course everything eventually goes catastrophically wrong. It's one of those scenes that doesn't have to exist, but you're glad it does. The villains are another interesting little time capsule. They're mostly all rogue Rain shinobi, and looking back now, it's funny just how different Rain Village wardrobes were before Shippuden.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago.
That was a bad mistake.
Buzzface!
Their outfits here, and honestly even the Rain shinobi during the exams, look almost nothing like what we would later associate with the village under Pain and Konan. Obviously the world building hadn't fully settled yet, but it is still interesting to see that evolution. Then there's
The hero's water!
Not gonna lie, wish they'd brought it back. Not necessarily as a major plot point, just acknowledge it. It's an ancient substance drawn from the trunk of an enormous sacred tree only once every 100 years that grants an immediate huge burst of chakra at the cost of the same amount from the user's life. Sound familiar? Considering everything we later learn about chakra-bearing trees and ancient power sources, it's hard not to notice the similarities.
Overflowing with power! He drank the chakra.
Was it connected to the divine tree? Almost certainly not, but it would have been fun if the series had thrown us even the tiniest of nods, a piece of its branch, a twig from it that was either scattered or stolen and planted near a lake that later bared a waterfall due to its immense life force capabilities, birthing the later village. I've even wondered whether something like the hero's water could explain how Kakuzu supposedly fought Hachirama in the distant past, and look, probably not. Multiple hearts already explain most of his survivability.
After you failed to assassinate the Hokage, you stole the hearts of the village elders and escaped! You're Kakuzu-senpai!
Will you shut up, you idiot?
Still, it's one of those dangling concepts that feels like it had more potential than Shippuden ever explored. So, if I had to make this OVA canon, I do have to agree with the suggestion, and would place it immediately after episode 101. I usually do quiz guides telling me to do something, especially when almost every website says so, but after weighing every inconsistency, it simply is the placement that breaks the fewest things. Is it perfect? No. Definitely not. Manga accuracy-wise, does Naruto's lack of a Rasengan and in its place an orange chakra punch still occasionally fight back to the timeline placement? Absolutely. But when we try to squeeze an OVA into a timeline that was never designed to accommodate it, sometimes least impossible is the closest we're gonna get, for better or worse. And before we wrap up, there's one last thing that's always bothered me. These OVAs are bizarrely difficult to earn officially. They've never really received the kind of complete Blu-ray collection you'd expect. Movies? Fine. The anime? Plenty of volume and collection releases. The OVAs? They're scattered across the earliest DVD extras, special editions to old games, and may or may not have been intended to be watched along the episodes if the Western airing orders are anything to go off of. But even then, not everything has been dubbed, and worse, some things aren't even listed as either OVAs or movie extras. I have no idea where to look to find the after episode shorts that showed Unleashed Naruto interacting with Shippuden Naruto.
Who do you think? Who else is standing here?
Likewise Sakura Unleashed in Shippuden. It's one thing if it wasn't dubbed, but it's another when they are just flat out inaccessible, and I'm sure there were more than these two shorts, so for all I know, there may have been a Sasuke one, as unlikely as it is, but you get the point. Its lack of documentation and preservation makes it incredibly frustrating, as the type of fan I am anyway. For something with as much historical value as these early side stories, it is genuinely surprising they haven't bundled every single Naruto OVA together into one definitive collection.
Well, so much for teamwork.
I don't want to hear any excuses! Just get on it!
It'd be an incredibly easy way for the franchise to make a little extra money while preserving a part of Naruto's history that's becoming increasingly awkward to access legally. Maybe one day. Until then, these two OVAs remain as these interesting, little forgotten adventures. Not quite canon, nor impossible, but maybe through this, something birth placed into two of the most awkward timeline gaps the series has to offer. And for now, If it's your cup of tea, it'll have to do. That brings us to the end of this video, so I hope you all enjoyed and learned some trivia. I'm very anxious to hear other alternatives or details that I hopefully haven't missed. Thank you so much for watching, definitely like, comment and subscribe. And if you have any insight on where I might find the shorts I can't seem to find anywhere, I'd appreciate it. Until next time, have a good one, and remember, in the ninja world those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon even one of their friends are worse than scum.
Later.